And ready, steady, off we go. So, hi everyone, my name is Ina. I'm an events coordinator at Lift 99. Lift 99 is an international startup community, and we're also running our co-working spaces in Kyiv and in Tallinn. Our mission is to create startup success stories and help startup teams change the world. And today we have an event with Tele2 about boosting sales in online channels. Tele2 is a European telecommunications operator headquartered in Sweden. It's a major telephone operator in Nordic and Baltic countries and an amazing providers in many others like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, the Netherlands, and Germany. Our speaker, Aare, is the Chief Sales Officer at Tele2 with 20 years of experience in e-channels and sales. He's gonna share his cool insights on online sales, and it's gonna be very awesome. Also, two quick notes for our audience. By submitting a feedback form on this event, you will get one free day in one of our hubs in Kyiv or in Tallinn, depending on your own location, because your feedback will really help us organize the best events for our community. And we will share the link in comments. The second thing, we have a Q&A session in the end. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them below the video, wherever you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube. Now I'm passing the microphone to Aare and hope you all enjoy it.
So hello everyone. Thank you, Ina, for this nice introduction. So yes, like it was already mentioned, my name is Aare. I am Chief of Sales, and luckily I am working in a best telecom in the whole world, named Tele2. And today I won't be talking about Tele2. I will be talking to you about e-commerce. And plan is to do the talking approximately 25 minutes, some minutes this or that way. And after that, of course, all the questions are welcome, and I will answer as many as I can. The ones that I'm not capable of answering, I hope that some of my team members are here as well, so I can ask their help to answer the questions. So, but I will share a screen with you as well, and then we can start moving. So, I'm pretty sure you all see the picture right now. E-commerce is the topic, and despite the fact that the whole e-commerce in this world is such a big topic and sometimes so complicated, I would say it's something really simple. And I will cover only the basics in those 25 minutes, and I hope at least that most of you have heard those basics. If there are some people who haven't heard, then I'm really happy because you can learn something. And the ones who have learned, so they know those basics, but they have failed, for example, with their e-channel, then at least you can get some answers. Where did you fail? Mostly then the case is, of course, about the execution. So let's start moving. So first thing that I want to share with you about is some words about myself. And as time is very limited, I'm not going to talk about my childhood. I'm not going to talk to you about my resume. So I only talk about 3 passions in my professional life. So my first passion that I discovered for myself is sales. I started in sales when I was just 11 years old. I started selling newspapers. And people who live in Estonia, they know such newspaper, or in fact it's weekly paper, named Eesti Express. This is where my career started as a salesperson. This was now already 30 years ago, so I have been doing some sales in my life. And the reality is that last 30 years I have been doing all the time sales, practically non-stop, selling different things. Last 15 years I have been working in the beginning as a manager, now hopefully more or less as a leader. So I'm still doing, of course, sales, because if you're a manager, if you're a leader, doing sales is your everyday task. And if you have friends, if you have wife and kids, you are also doing the sales all the time. So at home, of course, it depends who is doing the sales better, that one gets what he wants. So always a nice challenge at home. But that was my first challenge. The second challenge that I found and discovered in my life was e-commerce. It was also many, many years ago. It was approximately 25 years ago. And this is the topic that I will be covering today. So that's what I will be talking. So I will not stop here right now. And my third passion in my life is people. This is something that I discovered approximately 10 years ago when I had already got some experience how to work as a manager. So I discovered that I really love to find talented people, to work with them, to develop them, to see how they are succeeding, also how they are failing, because this is a very good place where you can learn something new when you fail. And this is today definitely my passion number one is people. So this is where I'm putting a lot of my effort and energy. But let's go back to the e-commerce. So I don't know how many of you have seen this picture. I believe some participants have seen it, but when those nice words were said, you were even not born yet. The year was then 93, and of course Bill Gates said such nice words, and later he had to admit that he was wrong. So this was 93. I started my journey in e-commerce world, approximately it was 95. And I was one of the first lucky ones who had internet at home. Those days, internet was slow, I mean, really slow and damn expensive. And in some countries with some operators, nothing has changed so far. It's still expensive and it's still slow. Luckily not the case with Tele2. But when I started it, I didn't just start browsing internet. I really started learning. I immediately learned how to write HTML. Those days it was so simple because you could do it in Notepad. There were just so few elements in the code, you could do it by heart. Not the case anymore today. So a few years later, I believe it was 97, 98, something like that, I opened up my first big e-shop there. And it was selling home big kitchen appliances. And it was all fully automated. I made huge investment. It was 5,000 crowns, it's 300 euros. Those days, it was even some kind of a money, but it was really all fully automated shop. And there were even some customers. I made even some money with that one, and I still failed. And why did I fail was a very simple reason. If we look at the global statistics, then today, 60% of the people globally have regular access to the internet. Those days, only 1% had access to the internet. So I went to the world where there were no customers yet. I was 5 to 10 years behind the time where you could really sell something in internet. So that was my first experience, really interesting one, really the failure in the end, but I learned a lot. And after that, I have had many failures again, but much more success stories. And I will share some success stories as an example with you as well. Most of them fail. And why do they fail? The reasons, of course, are very simple. First of all, the person who comes out with something has a product service. And of course, that person thinks that, wow, I have a service everyone needs because I like it. So first thing that people forget is go and ask from the market, is this service product needed anyway at all? That's the first mistake, very common. Next one, person makes a decision, I will go now online. So it's so damn easy, I will go online, minimum investments, huge return, so tomorrow I will be a billionaire. Nice start, isn't it? Then you build the homepage. Nowadays, you can do it really simple ways. And off you go. And as soon as you are online, of course, you are waiting for the great results. You take some more leasings, you buy two new cars, you buy a new house, because now you are a successful businessman. And of course, what happens? Usually you fail. And of course, you don't understand what the hell went wrong. And this is something that I will today open up what really went wrong in this very typical situation. But before we get there, I will also share two examples which are supporting a bit the background that I will be talking about. And I will show you what can be done. So internet doesn't have to be the failure always. And two examples. One example from my own personal life is from insurance. I used to work in a Nordic leading insurance company, If Insurance, also market leader in Estonia. And when I joined that company 12 years ago, their sales in internet were like 1%, rest came from the shops. Company had 43 shops in tiny Estonia. So there was a shop on every corner, by the way. And if you know how many people live in Estonia, then there was practically a shop for every Estonian, a private shop. And it took 7 years to change the mindset of the people, to get the people to the internet. But 7 years later, the result was opposite. 95% of the sales were coming from internet, 1% from the shops, and 3% through the phone. And in the end, there were only 3 or 4 shops. And as far as I know, either all the shops are closed for that company or there are still 2 or something like that left. And I will explain soon what had to be done to get there. This is just an example. And then the next example here is in a telecom business. So in telecom business, I am taking Tele2 data. So, and I'm talking about selling devices. So people are still very much used to go to the shops. I want to touch the device. I want to get this feeling. So still in February and March, only 10% of the devices were sold in internet. In March and May, the result was already 30%. Huge growth. And there was also a very good reason behind it, why and how this happened. And I will explain this one as well as a very good example. So, first of all, what are the key elements for the success? I have brought up 5 key elements. First one is, of course, strategy. There is no sense to start running if you don't know where do you run and how do you want to get there. You need to have a very clear understanding. What do you want to do? Why are you doing it? So you need to have a strategy. You don't need to have 100 pages of document. 1 page is good enough. But this is not something that you provide, you put it away, and then you look at it again after 5 years. Strategy is something that you are really doing that creates value and you use it daily. Next one, I am going on. Topic number 2 is motivation for customers and employees. This is one of the big failures people are making. So if your customers are used to buy something from the retail, then you need to understand what motivates them to go to each channel. And I will talk about it much more on this next slide. And the same goes about employees as well, that if you want to push, not pull, but push your customers to the e-channel, and you want to use your own employees, salespeople, they need to have some kind of motivation as well. But again, coming back to this one on the next slide. Then, of course, the big topic is awareness. And there are several parts. People need to know your company. That's, of course, one thing, even if you just go online. And they also need to know that you can buy something from internet. Today, we all know that you can do bank transactions in internet. This is very obvious. But if we look at this way, that before COVID, there were really few people who were buying grocery food from internet. Pure awareness, because people were used to buy grocery stuff from real shops. They thought it's very complicated. With the COVID, there was a huge change in people's minds. So that part is very critical as well. Then simplicity, you can't ignore that part. If the page is complicated, you will just go away. You will not continue on a web page that takes a lot of time, a lot of resource to find something. So page must be so damn simple that you just go, you enjoy your journey, you get what you want, and you never need to search or find something, or you don't need to figure it out how to do it. And of course, one very important part that is also very often ignored is pricing model in different channels. As long as people can get something cheaper in physical channel rather than in e-channel, it's really tough to move people to the e-channel. So the whole pricing model of a company is extremely important if you start moving your business to the online. Okay, but those were the key elements. And now I'm going through with very clear and detailed hints what needs to be done. So I added them into 4 steps for me, and then there is bonus step in the end, and I will go through line by line. So step number 1, before you start doing anything which concerns online, then go to your customers. Most of you, I hope, are doing it also when they are bringing some new service or product to the live. They go and ask from potential customers, what do they think about it, what they like, what they don't like, what could be improved. The same goes for the e-channel. If you alone think that you know everything the best, you will fail, I will promise you. There are a few lucky ones who don't fail, most do fail. I have been in this e-commerce world 25 years, and I will fail as well if I don't ask opinions from the customers. No, none of us knows everything by themselves. Just fooling yourself. So what you have to ask is, of course, first question is why they don't want your product anyway, but nothing to do with online only. It's like a very common question, so I will not stop here. Next question. You must understand why people really come to the stores. What is the motivation? And very often the motivation is just the force of habit. Our people are the slaves of their habits. They are used to do something, so they even don't think that there are alternatives. And we start thinking of the alternatives when we are pushed out of our comfort zone, which happened with this COVID. So despite the fact that COVID is negative, it's killing people, and people are getting sick as well, there are also positive parts. This changes our mindset. We are finding new solutions, new approaches, how to do business, how to support people. So there is also a positive part for the future. Next one. You should also ask why they don't buy already from internet. I believe most people, now surely in Estonia and surely Ukraine, they know that there is internet. So you don't need to start explaining what the hell is internet. But you need to understand why they don't go to internet. There are some very good reasons always behind it, and these are different in different companies. Next one, this is that I started already on the last slide, was the motivation part. And again, you don't need to figure it out. You don't need to hire 10 specialists. Just go to the customers. Just go on the street, ask the same simple questions, and you will find out those answers. Again, as people have reasons why they don't go, they also can figure it out. What could be the motivations that would take them to internet? And these are just some examples. When I was talking about insurance company, I was telling that it took 7 years. It took 7 years to change the mindset because people had used to go to the shops. Then that was their habit. They really liked to do it. So what we did, we were motivating with the price. We gave better prices in internet. So this was the motivation for the people. If we talk about this second example, right now on Tele2, where it didn't take 7 years, it took 1 month, then the motivation was not so much like pulling, it was pushing. COVID was the one who was, that was pushing. But this came from outside, and people went to the internet and they changed their habits and they could do the purchases. It was not complicated, in fact. So price is very good and very important argument. Of course, the speed, that if you can get something from home, you don't need to get it, you don't need to get out from the home. The speed becomes a factor. You are saving your time. Of course, it depends a bit as well where you live. If you live in the next house to the store, then of course, speed is not this. I am living in the middle of the forest, in the middle of nowhere. So for me, speed is an issue. Convenience, of course, that's the same case that if you are tired in the evening after your full working day, why the hell should I go to the shop to look around? I can sit on my sofa, I can browse through the products, I can read about those products, then I can pick them up, I can buy them, and they are delivered next day. very convenient, and of course simplicity. So that was step number one before you start doing anything. So far, you don't need to invest any money. You can do it all by yourself if you are a small company. Now we're going to the step number two. Step number 2 and 3 are very tightly connected, so they go together. So now you are going to build the shop. So you need to make some decisions right in the beginning. First decision is, do you build individual shop or integrated? So what I mean, there are tons of platforms out in the internet. I'm not going to bring any examples because there are really so many, where you can very simply build a shop which takes care of everything. Your logistics, payments, whatever you need. But this shop is then not connected to other systems that you have. If you have already an existing business, you need to make a decision, because if you have already some sales program, you have some logistic program, you have some billing program in your company, then in some cases it's wise to connect this new e-shop interface with your existing systems. And this is a tricky part because this is expensive. Building all those API services takes a lot of money. So, big analyze part, which way to go really. Next thing to think about it, if you build a platform, are you building it just for the customers or also for salespeople? It happens many times that companies are building really nice platforms for their customers. And then salespeople, when they are doing sales, they have some old, ugly sales systems. And customer needs to fill in 3 fields, but salesperson needs to fill in 13 fields. Where's the logic? Same customer, same product, so why the hell to make things complicated? Build one platform, strong suggestion. Of course, you need some investment again. This next one, free or paid, goes together with the first point. So if we talk about platforms, then there are free options. There are ones that you need to pay a bit. Up to you to decide where you see that you have better functionality. Then some things to think about, I already brought up. Please think about through billings. In different countries, it's different. For example, in Estonia, people are used to pay through bank links. In Latvia, they are used to pay through credit cards. So markets are different. Again, go to your customers, potential customers, ask what they prefer. You don't need to offer all the options, especially as nowadays there are really like zillions of options. Logistics, extremely important if it's a service, if it's a product. Customer wants to get the product now. I finished the purchase, I want to get it now. I don't want to wait for a week. So think it through which options you have in your country. Look at the startups. There are tons of nice startups, at least I know in Estonia. We are also doing partnerships with, and go and do different pilots. Speed is important. The delivery quality, of course, is important. And of course, the price is in the end important as well, especially if you are selling something that doesn't cost much. And then, of course, you need to think it through that, are you asking this price from customer or you are putting it into your product? Then customer care, extremely important. Don't leave them alone. Even if your page is simple, product is simple, people want to feel that there is someone that I can talk to. And there are tons of options. I have brought out some of them: phone, chatbot, email, forms. There are many more. So again, think it through. Ask from your potential customers how they like to communicate with you. You don't need to build up all the channels. But definitely, if you want to be customer-centric company, don't do what some airplane companies are doing, that it's important to access them. It's up to you, of course, if you want to be customer-centric. And to conclude step number 2, then of course, ask NPS feedback. And from my own experience, there are 2 things that are usually affecting it very strongly: speed of delivery and customer care. So these are the places where you don't. Okay, step number 2. Let's go to step number 3. I am 2 minutes behind schedule, but I will manage. So you can't forget marketing and communication part. What I mean is that even if you go online, you still need the brand awareness. Online is not some magical part that I will go online, so all I need is a web shop. Huge place where companies make mistakes. People also need to know that you are in the internet. You can be a well-known brand. It can be obvious that you are on internet. If people are not used to buy from internet, they don't. For them, it's not so obvious. So you need to talk about it all the time. And of course, it goes together with the changing the mindset, pushing people from real shops to the online. It needs tons and tons of education, and it takes time. And of course, my experience is that this is where most of the investment goes. Don't think that I will invest X amount of money to the web shop development and then it's done. No, it's not the case. Marketing takes 90% at least of the total investment that you are doing. So don't forget about this one. Don't forget CBM as well. You need to take care of the existing clients. Also, if they buy from online, and online is all about data analysis, non-stop. Where the customers are coming from, why they are coming from, which customers are buying, which ones are not, which customers prefer mobile phone, which ones prefer desktop, why. So it's a non-stop analyzing, and the better you are doing it, the better results you get, sure, with less investments. And step number 3, just big reminders. So ask feedback, use NPS, use CES, customer effort score, and do something with this feedback. Customers, if they give feedback and you don't do anything about it, customers stop giving feedback. So do something about it. Improve your page all the time. It never gets ready, especially online. Do A/B testings. I'm not going to stop here. And of course, have your KPIs. If you start something, you need to have, with your strategy also, you need to have some kind of goals. Otherwise, you don't know how to measure the success. So think it through. Where do you want to get? How do you measure it? So what are the KPIs on the road? And follow them. So those were the 4 steps. And one more additional step. There are some differences in B2B and B2C that I really want to bring out. So B2C, let's start with this one. There are three things that you should be really looking at. So what your customers need. There are some business models where really in the web, you only need the information. So you are doing the pre-shopping. But in many cases, this is the place where customer makes the decision. So I will read about the product in web. I will make a decision as well. I want it and I want it from this company. And then they make the purchase in a physical shop. And it might feel you that I don't need the web page at all because they are buying from the shops, but they make up their mind online before they go to the shop. So if you fail with the pre-shopping, you fail in total as well. So this is something that is sometimes very tough to measure, but there are tools for that. So think about it. What means online for you? It's not only doing sales online, but it can be just getting information and doing the pre-shopping. Next part is, of course, sales itself. And third part is self-care. If we talk, for example, about the banks and telecom industry as well, then the 2 key elements are self-care and pre-shopping. If you think about, for example, travel industry and ticket industry, for them, sales is the key. So again, you need to think about your business model. What is the most important part for you? Where you need to put the effort, and especially if your money is limited, that you can invest, you need to think it through. What is my priority number 1? Where do I start? And if we talk about B2B, it's a bit different. So of course, the information in pre-shopping is the same. But if we talk about sales and self-care, there are big differences. In many cases, selling to business customers, the products are more complicated. They are more tailor-made. So instead of building up very complicated websites, investing tons of money, just collect the leads. Warm leads are something every salesperson wants to get, and it's much more easier to do sales from them rather than just in cold calls. So use the leads. And of course, instead of self-care, just use the forms, have account managers, whatever is important for your business model. Don't try to build everything online. You invest huge amounts of money in the beginning and for the maintenance as well. And mostly you don't get it back. Of course, it depends on the business model. Again, even on business to business side, if the product, if the service is really simple, go. So, that was 29 minutes. This is how simple it is. And I can guarantee that if you don't follow those key elements that I brought up, you will most likely fail. Of course, if you have tons of luck, you can succeed as well. But there are very few people who can go through the life with luck. Usually, there is much more need. But this is the basics. So I have finished with my part, and I am glad to give word to Inna, who can see if we have any questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Aare, for amazing sales insights. Really love the people-oriented approach. That's amazing. And let's see if we have any questions from the audience. Oh, the first one is, how creative you got during this work from home time in online sales? Any new creative ways of doing sales, maybe?
If the question is yes and no, then answer is very simple, yes. What was really good with this COVID part is, I partly mentioned it already, it forced us to come out from the comfort zone. It forced us to become much more creative. Also, in Tele2, we had several challenges, for example, as internet sales part was not so high yet. This is the place where we are right now investing a lot, but in the past, we have not invested enough. Then we had to play around a lot. For example, also with, especially on delivery part, we had just two options how to deliver the goods. But what happened with COVID was that both companies got so overloaded that delivery time went from 1 day to 5 days. So immediately we had to find new solutions, and we found several new solutions, including using one startup in Estonia. And of course, we made quickly some IT developments. So yes, we had to be creative how to find solutions, including how to play around the whole warehouse in a very short time. So yes, it felt like a nightmare at the beginning, but it was really a positive nightmare because it pushed us to be creative, and it helped us much further, much quicker than we would have achieved otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I think COVID situation is just like a huge challenge for everyone. Yeah. The next question coming from the previous one, how did your sales team adapt to new sales online?
Okay, sales organization is very big in Tele2. So there are like, we have like 170 people, 160, something like that. So of course, if we look at the people who are working in the e-commerce team, they were happy as hell, of course, because their numbers were going up. They could present only the success stories, so they were really happy. If we talk about the rest of the organization, Tele2 has 19 shops around Estonia. There are like 80, 90 people working there. We closed all the shops immediately. As the COVID started, then we made the decision on Saturday. We announced it on Sunday. We closed the shops. Then, of course, it was a big moment for the people, but we didn't just push people home. We made like two things with them. So first of all, we pushed them home because we wanted to keep their health and our customers' health as well, because caring is one of our core values, and we are caring about our people and customers. But first of all, we kept their average salary, all salespeople. So people didn't lose the job. They didn't also lose the salary. And not to go nuts at home, we immediately created new sales team organization out of those people. So we started doing calls to the existing customer base. So they didn't get fired. They kept their average salary, and they could continue working. Of course, making phone calls was not their let's say, choice number one. They like to do face-to-face calls. But if you have an option, either to sit at home 2 months and go crazy or doing phone calls, of course, they chose the phone calls, and the results were really amazing. I was also very happy about it. And some people, of course, went to support customer service as we got much more phone calls at the same time. Today, we are moving back to the normal. Shops are open. Most people are back in the shops. Customer visits are going up. And in the total, it seems to me that in the total, we are winning, because sales in shops are going up back. E-sales are going a bit down, but they don't go as down as they were before. So eShop is also winning. And we got tons of experience with doing telesales. So most likely we are opening up new sales channels. So again, tons of positive came out from this negative happening.
That is great. It feels like some companies went online to become more stronger back in offline world. And that is very awesome.
Yeah.
I have another question from the audience. Do you have any tips on how to make the e-shopping in B2C more personal? How to give your customer a more individual approach?
Wow, really good question. Something that we are very tightly working in Tele2 as well. So it used to be much more easier in the past. You know, nowadays there is such a nice word like GDPR, which is stopping you doing tons of great things. But still, there are some options. First of all, if we talk about web environments, when you have to log in, then it's much more simple because then you have all the data about your customer. When customer enters, you can already welcome the customer by name. You know what services this customer is buying. So it's really simple to do some upsells for this customer because you know your customers. But of course, again, this means that you need to have some tools to analyze your customer base. You need to understand what services, products they are using, what services and products are going together, so that you can already suggest something to your people. But this needs, this is exactly this CBM is partly, this is customer-based management part. So you need to have some resources. You need to have some analyzed tools for that one. Basic ones, by the way, are in Excel. And then, of course, there are much more complicated ones. And I believe there are tons of startups that can help out here. So this is for the customers where you log in. If you have a shop model where customers don't log in, then it gets much more complicated because with cookies, you can use them to some extent, but from some extent, GDPR is going to stop you. But even here, again, here are tools where you can track down your customer behavior and you need to track it down somehow, and then you can become personal. Otherwise, it doesn't work out, but people like very personal approach. And in a perfect world, you know your customers so well that the whole web page will look different. Colors, backgrounds, buttons. Now, of course, that's the dream world practically, that the whole page is customized. So according to the disk model, people are divided into 4 different models or different colors. In a perfect world, your shop should act differently with those 4 different peoples. But yeah, again, this needs different web tools, analytical tools, CBM, and logging down customer data.
Well, that's a very cool reply to that. Very insightful. Going back to like comparing offline and online world, will you continue to combine offline and online sales further as the result we are all now is like hybrid?
Yes, and this is one of the topics that is still on the table. Already 10 years ago, many companies started talking about omnichannel. Amazing word. So I also went to tons of conferences. Everyone was talking about omnichannel. Still, everyone is talking about it. Very few companies are really doing about it. And Tele2 in the past has not been strong in this one as well. This is something that we are definitely pushing. Customers are moving between channels. So practically, in a perfect world again, if customer goes to a web shop, let's say looks at some phone model, if that customer goes to the real shop, salesperson should know this information already. So that that salesperson, if you are an Apple fan, salesperson is not going to recommend Samsung to you, for example. This makes the success rate much higher. And it's the opposite, that if you go to the shop, we are presenting you some products. If you go to the web shop, information should be there already. Or if you go to the shop, you are, let's say that you are starting your sales process. Of course, in a perfect sales process, sales should be always finished on this meeting with a customer. No, but sometimes it happens that, especially with men, that they can't make a decision because they need to talk to their wives at home. They are not allowed to make decisions. But if that man goes home now, and then after talking to the wife, and logs into the web shop, that contract should be already there. You just sign it, done, or you just press the button, purchase, it's done. You don't start again from the beginning. And with this topic in Tele2, we are also in the beginning of the trip still.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. Okay, another question is, what are the most important sales channels?
Overall, if we talk about B2C, it's still classical. Face-to-face channel, still, again, depending on the business model. Now, travel companies don't do anything practically anymore on face-to-face, but with many business models, face-to-face or shops are still number one. Then something that is often forgotten is the phone sales. For example, if company has a service line shouldn't be just a service line. If customer calls in with a problem, you solve the problem. That's the best moment when to do the sales, because then the customer is happy. And of course, still the old-fashioned telesales. And what I mean with telesales is not doing cold calls to the private customers. People don't like it. But to the existing base, if you have a customer, perhaps the customer bought first product from internet. It's a case very often that people buy just one product from internet. And then companies are telling me that they buy only one product, so I need to send them to the shop, because in shop I can sell free product. Why do you send them to the shop? Let them buy one product in internet, and then let your salespeople call them and sell those other 2 or 3 products over the phone. It is much cheaper. And anyway, when people got used to the internet more and more and more, one day they will buy 2 products from internet. So still, shops, phone is still there, and e-channel is still there. And one growing channel is still the chat in internet. Email, of course, is falling, and people don't like to write, and they don't want to wait, but chat is the one that is getting more and more still important. People love to chat online. And of course, it is a bit different if we talk about business to business. Then in business to business, yeah, still more focus is on face-to-face sales, and then phone sales as well. Internet is secondary. But on B2C, definitely internet, in most business models, it should be your priority number one. This is where you should be heading, at least for the pre-shopping, if nothing else.
Yep. Okay. And can you tell us what are the down during the last few months?
So Ina, sorry, but I missed part of your question. Somehow it got muted or internet issue, so please repeat it.
Sorry. It's like the magic of online events.
Yep.
What are the best channels that worked unexpectedly good for them during the last few months?
Unexpectedly good.
Yep.
It's a tough question, because from that perspective, that if you close your shops, then it's expected that internet is going up and phone is going up. What was a positive outcome or surprise for me was that when we really took those people who are used to be selling from face to face, and if I have asked from the past that would you like to make calls over the phone? No, 10 people from the 90 people say that yes, I like. Others say no, I hate phone. I love to talk from face to face.
Yeah.
But when they were in this tough situation, they didn't have this option as well. But the other option was just to sit at home, because we said that we are not going to send away any people because we really care about our people. Everyone started doing those phone calls, and we got really high conversion rates. We got really tons of calls. So that was the positive part. And what else we did during this period? We also contacted our business customers. We were just calling them and asking, how can we help you? And the outcome was very simple. Most companies said that there is nothing that you can do, but they were really grateful that someone is really calling and asking for the help. So again, very good experience. And of course, there were some customers that we could really offer the help as well. But most customers were just grateful that we supported them. And as for the Tele2 customer centricity, is the key element, this is where we want to go, then this is exactly what should be expected from us and what we did, and really customers appreciated it.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. To wrap it up, can you tell us what are the top 3 takeaways from your presentation for all the participants watching us now and will be watching us later?
3 takeaways. Now then, I would still use 3 words then from that perspective. That first, definitely strategy. So build up some kind of a strategy. Just don't think so that I will go internet, in internet everything is possible, everyone succeeds. No, that's not the case. That's like point number 1. Point number 2 is still a big part. Go to your potential customers. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. I'm never going to know everything. So always go and ask from your customers. And of course, the third one is from the big ones where the biggest mistakes are made. So put most of the investments into the marketing communication part, not to the web shop building. Because if you just put up a nice shop, it can be really the best shop ever made. If people don't come to this shop, again, you are totally failed.
Okay, okay. I see that we don't have any questions left. So I want to say thank you, Aare, for the cool insights and amazing presentation and all the answers and questions and everything. And I want to make a quick notice for our audience, a reminder that by submitting a feedback form on this event, you will get 1 free day in one of our hubs in Tallinn or in Kiev, depending on your location, because we really appreciate your feedback. It will help us a lot organize the best events for our startup community. And thank you all for watching us live, and thank you for all your questions. Thank you, Aare, for your time.
And of course, thank you for inviting. It was a real pleasure. And perfect example is also that I'm living in the middle of the woods, nowhere. And even here we have internet. So internet is an amazing thing. So there is good reason to go online and start selling online as well. So thank you, everyone. And if someone has very like, I don't know, some questions that you don't want to ask publicly, then LinkedIn is the magic place where you can find me. And I will answer all the topics in LinkedIn. Of course, not in a couple of hours usually because I'm pretty booked, but I will eventually answer all the questions there as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you.